Hello and welcome to today's video. I hope everyone is doing well. I kind of want to sit down. Today's not going to be a makeup video, but I wanted to sit down and kind of discuss some things that have been on my mind lately. I have not really been present here on YouTube or on Instagram because honestly makeup and that kind of thing have been the last thing on my mind. I know that living here in Sweden, I don't get Swedish TV. One, I can't understand it, and two, because we don't get Swedish TV, we really don't watch much like US TV either. So of course, to recap some of the recent events, George Floyd was murdered on, I believe it was May 26th, and I'm sad to say that it's kind of been an emotional roller coaster because I didn't know about it for a couple days. And I believe Bo and I were at a doctor's appointment together when we were finally sitting down in the lobby, just waiting, and scrolled through and realized what in the world's going on. And by that point, it had been a couple days, the riots had started, and it was just kind of like this, nothing shakes you a little bit, at least being here. It shook me pretty hard to realize all of this stuff is happening. One, that it's happened before and it's happening again, and there's something just disheartening about seeing something play out over and over again, and it's the same old story and the same old arguments are being thrown out and the same old accusations. And then so I've had a mixture of emotions of shock and a little bit of just shame of not knowing sooner and therefore not being able to mobilize or do anything sooner. But one of the first things that I knew that I needed to do personally was spend some time with my own privilege. And I had to I sat down and I wrote, I'm not a writer, but I'm going to share it because I think that one thing that's really at least true for me, that if I expect anybody else to be open and honest and listen and possibly change in the future, that you have to the vulnerability needs to start with you, right? So one of the first things that I did was sit down and really examine my privilege. And being from the South, I grew up in the Alabama, Georgia area, right there on the line. And unfortunately, the South it has a long history of racism, and it's one of those things that if you're from the South, you'll definitely encounter people who want to say it's done, it's behind us, we moved on a long time ago from that, and it's not true. And so I had to spend some time, examining what my experience with racism growing up was. What did I see? What did I hear? And how have I internalized that? And then how have I acted on that, either intentionally or unintentionally? And so I sat down and wrote about that experience. And I will, like I said, I'm not a writer, but I'm more than, because if I want anybody to listen and be honest and vulnerable with themselves, I think it's a thing that you need to do by example. So I'm gonna link, hopefully I can figure out a way to link my Facebook post either in the description box or in the comments for you if you're curious to hear my experience with that. It's long, and that's partly why I'm not gonna read it on here. But I highly encourage you that if you're interested in hearing about that, it is gonna be linked somewhere. And I also have some notes of some things that I want to link to. So a couple other things that I wanted to link is there is a really, really great video made by ACT TV. I believe it's a YouTube video that I can link in the description box and in the cards, and it explains systemic racism. So for some people, I know that there's a debate whether or not systemic racism is real, or haven't we done away with all of the racist laws and therefore there's nothing to fix. There's a spectrum of what people believe on the subject, but they do a really good job of explaining certain kinds of systemic racism, and I'm way better than anything I could throw back at you. So I'm gonna also link that video here, and hopefully you will find that if you're looking for information, or if you're curious to hear or learn more about systemic racism, I highly encourage you to go check that video out. And while that video is very actual educational kind of style, I also am gonna link one that I watched yesterday. It's John Oliver's Last Week's Tonight, HBO kind of show, and everybody probably knows what it is. But I was gonna film this video yesterday, but I watched that video before this, and I ended up crying all evening. So instead, I thought it was really powerful. And of course, John Oliver is the comedian, and but he says certain things in a way that I think that at least I needed to hear it yesterday. and they can be kind of harsh. But so I highly encourage that you go watch that video to be aware that there's lots of cussing in the video, so if you're around kids you probably want to wait. But I'll say this about the video, that even watching it, even after I've spent some time, like after I wrote what I wrote about myself, I've been trying to do something at least every day, at the very least, to educate myself and to be a better ally. And even just watching the video yesterday, and I realized I'm still learning every day. There's still so much to learn and understand about how it's impacting the Black community. And you know, just a couple like statistics that I think that really stick with me. Of course, I already knew that, like in the terms of the number of people killed by police last year, there were Black people accounted for 24% of people killed last year, even though they only make about 13% of the population up, which is, you know, in another way to look at that is that they're 2.5 times more likely to be shot and killed by a police officer, which is just, it's unacceptable. But John Oliver stated a statistic yesterday that really like was a gut punch to me, and it was that if you're a Black man, 1 in every 1,000 Black men can expect to be killed by police. And I can't not wrap my head around that. Like, it's just heartbreaking to think that that there are people out there who don't feel comfortable in their own skin color. Like, you can't be safe because of that. And so those are 2 actual videos that I'm going to be linking in this, like either again in the description box or in the cards here. But I also wanted to mention that I'm going to leave links to a couple other websites too. One of them is a website that NPR did an interview with she's a psychologist from the University of Stanford. Her name is Jennifer Eberhardt, and she is one of the leading researchers in what is called implicit bias. And for those of you who don't know, implicit bias, which my horrible definition of it is implicit bias basically is this kind of idea that people unintentionally kind of we absorb stereotypes and we act on those stereotypes and when we interact with our world. So it informs how we make decisions, everything. And so a lot of times it's not even, I think people so often think of racism and immediately like this bigoted character is pulled up in our mind, and it's so often it's not even that easy to identify. Usually it's little things that you don't even or may not intend to do or may not realize that you're doing. And so Jennifer Eberhardt is one of the like leading researchers, like I said, for this kind of topic. And she has done not only a lot of research, but she's done a lot of work with police and in terms of training and how to change police programs and trainings to better prepare police officers to make decisions and hopefully slow down the acting on those internalized stereotypes. And admittedly, implicit bias is not the end-all be-all fix-it for this situation, but it's a good place to start. And the reason why I'm mentioning it is because I think it is a really important thing that each and every one of us can do. We can start by kind of taking stock of what kind of things we maybe have internalized, and then therefore we can kind of move forward more informed and be better allies. Additionally, I'm going to link some other websites down below. There's going to be a website, you know, if you're looking for other things that you can do to get involved. I'll link a couple donation pages, but I just wanted to hop on here and just kind of say, encourage people that if you haven't done this already, which hopefully a lot of you have, that you stop and really listen to people of color in your community and listen to what they're saying, because they're in pain and the least we can do, and I'm speaking from, you know, someone who has the privilege of being white, and I have white privilege, you know, the least that we can do is listen to them and then take some time, self-examine ourselves, look at possibly how we have unintentionally or intentionally, you know, exhibited racism at times. And then with that knowledge, you can do more. You can make better decisions. We can mobilize and be better allies. And so I just hope that everyone is doing okay. I just wanted to throw this out here because I know that I have videos planned. I think one's supposed to go up tomorrow, and I have not even thought about these kind of things, and it feels so awkward to sit down and film unless I kind of put out what's been on my heart lately. So like I said before, I hope everyone's doing okay. Please share to say hello in the comments, and I will see you in the next one.